Okay, I welcome everybody to our afternoon press conference on behalf of the City of Glendora and our other governing partners that are assisting us with our response. My name is Chris Jeffers, C-H-R-I-S-J-E-F-F-E-R-S. I'm the City Manager of the City of Glendora. And I'll start off by giving sort of an overview of where we're are at this point based on our assessment and intelligence reports from the field. First of all, Weather Service is still indicating that the storm that we're now having, which is sort of moderate to sometimes heavy, will continue to about 8 p.m. Probably this intensity that we're experiencing right now will continue to about 6 p.m. They think the thresholds will be well under that which we have concerns for mud and debris flows starting. Right now they're experiencing about a 1/4 inch an hour intensity. It's a 1/2 inch or more per hour that gets us concerned with our foothills at this point. So right now the news is good from the Weather Service. On behalf of the County Public Works Flood Control Water Resources Division, they report that the basins that are within our foothills are about 30% plus filled. They can't get an accurate feel until some of the water desalinates through their pipe system to get that. But looking at some of the things that they would normally see if it was a problem for them are not occurring at this point, so they're confident that whatever will flow into them can be handled easily at this point. So that remains. They will keep a phase 1 mud flow condition into effect till about 9 p.m. tonight, and then they'll release that from their standpoint. So that's all good news for us. From our standpoint, we've had about 16 calls or incidences that we've responded to. Nothing major or really moderate. We continue to have repeated calls to areas that historically are problems for us. They're private driveways or private road areas up in our deepest part of our foothills. Rainbow Drive you've heard of, Easley Canyon is another one. Just the typical mud flow or debris flow that we would see. Nothing endangering anything at this point, but it is impeding those private driveways access. We continue to have crews try to clear them out as it permits through that, but nothing that would cause us to be alarmed about any structures or anything else being in danger at this point. Beyond that, it's just been responding to reports of some debris, minor debris in homes, streets, intersections, things like that that we've been responding to. Again, the city wants to recognize the outstanding cooperation that we've had from County Fire, our County Public Works officials with the debris basins, our Weather Service in keeping us informed, USGS, they have a rain gauge up on Rainbow Drive, which has really given us very good information about actual rainfall that's happening in Glendora as opposed to some of the other rain gauges which are farther inland and may distort how much rainfall that we're actually experiencing or not. So we're appreciative of USGS coming from that. So with that overview, I'd like to call up our Police Chief, Tim Staub.
Good afternoon. We are currently still at orange level, which means that evacuations are optional, not mandatory. We are prepared to go to alert level red if need be. I've got officers out there. I've got officers on standby, officers on overtime. We are going to be here all night until this thing passes. We've got directed patrol up throughout the Colby Fire Impact Area, and we're here for our residents in case there's problems. The rain, as the city manager said, the rain has been steady. It's been constant. Water is our gutters are full of water, but in terms of mud flow, our problems are at a minimum. But if this storm, it's expected to continue flash flood warnings until 8 p.m. Like I said, it doesn't matter. Our officers will be here all night and through the morning. So if there's any questions?
How many officers in total do you
We have a minimum of 15 officers working this area, so that if it were to go to a red alert area right now or red alert level, we could close up that area and restrict it for the safety of our residents.
Chris mentioned the rain gauge that you said was really reliable. What's it showing right now? Any idea?
Right now, USGS is reporting that it's collected. We've had about 1 and 1.5 inches in our foothills at that point, so that's good news from that standpoint.
And do you know what the elevation is of that rain gauge? How far up is it?
It's about, I don't know the exact elevation, I just know from feet from where the drive is, it's about 150 yards above that in a more secure place so that it doesn't get tampered with from that standpoint. But let me, before we take any more questions, let me call off Fire Battalion Chief for Little Lake County, Mike Short.
Good afternoon. I'm the current Operations Section Chief for the Fire Department. We maintain unified command with the city, and our kudos off to the city as this has been working out really well. We continue also to patrol the problem areas. We have resources that we've brought in and are staged at strategic locations. We've ran several public assists. Again, we've been unified command, so we're talking to each other. We have made no rescues or extractions to this point. And I think one of the big messages we want to get out is you can't stop mud, so don't endanger yourself or your families. That's all I have. Do I have any questions for fire?
Have you been using hand crews to help clear the mud? I think I saw a truck today.
We have. We have crews placed and they are helping out in strategic areas, yes.
How bad do you expect this to get, I mean, from here to tomorrow?
Basically, what we've just talked about, our information from weather is it's going to be a steady rain. So that's why we don't have a lot of calls going right now. So we kind of expect it just to kind of status quo. We do expect another storm tomorrow. We'll see what that takes place. But right now we're kind of on a status quo. We're all being very vigilant. But right now, nothing pending. Thank you.
Also here, if there's any questions for the Forest Service, we have Public Information Officer Nathan Judy that's also available if there's any questions. Their area certainly is the forest above our ridge line primarily, but they also, the Azusa Canyon area right now. So if there's, he'll be available to answer any questions from the Forest Service. Let me reiterate, we are at an orange level. Right now, based on the intelligence, we've gotten the reports from Weather Service, flood control, and our own field observations at this point. We don't anticipate a need to raise that any higher. That will carry us through the evening. One of the things that you will notice, even if we would hate to change alert during the evening unless it really demands it, because we don't want people out in the dark where they can't see their surroundings around them. They may be running into blocked driveways or other types of dangers which could endanger them more from that standpoint. So again, if you haven't evacuated, as from our voluntary requests, we always remind people to shelter in place. And that means if you go to the highest point in your house, stay there. If you have a single story, that means go to the middle of the house, stay there. We always encourage people to stay off the roads. We don't know if there is some mud flow or something like that could impede your ability, and we don't want to, like we did last time, end up extracting a number of cars and vans that got stuck in mud, because it doesn't take much to enable a car before we're doing that, and we don't want to have to use resources necessarily for that process. But also, it could impede police or fire's response should the need arise if we've got a lot of traffic on streets. And a number of those streets, as you probably have driven, are very narrow, and you almost have to pull to the side. And those are the streets primarily that we typically have problems, like Rainbow Drive, High Crest, Yucca Ridge, and some other places where only one car can pass. So if a car blocks that, it's going to impede our ability to respond appropriately from that standpoint. So if you're going to stay, again, we advise not to, but stay and don't be driving around from that standpoint. We will be, for those new ones, new people here, we have 2 conference calls with our team of both internally and our external partners. We have another call at 9 tomorrow just to get the latest. As Battalion Chief Short indicated, right now, Weather Service is reporting that there's a second storm that's south of us that right now has a 50 to 60% chance of flowing into us tomorrow. A lot can happen between now and then, of course. As I've admonished at our previous conference, weather is a fickle thing. It's hard to predict. I go back to 10 days ago, Friday, there was no prediction of a thunderstorm, yet we got a thunderstorm. It caused some extreme flooding of mud and debris. Nobody predicted it, but it can happen. Weather Service is indicating that while this current storm is warmer and doesn't lend itself to thunderstorms, there's always that possibility, but on the horizon, the storm that's out south of us is a colder storm, which could rise to an increased chance of thunderstorms. So again, there's a lot of stuff that we'll have to digest between now and 9 o'clock or a little after 9 o'clock tomorrow to make a determination what happens next. But right now, we're going to stay at orange, and that'll be sufficient for our needs and certainly sufficient for our residents' needs to be safe going forward at that point. So with that, as I finish up, again, I know the City Council and I, as a City Manager, want to again extend our deep appreciation first to the media for getting the message out, helping us get that message out, so we appreciate everything that you do. 2, we want to extend our appreciation not only to our city crews that are really working out in some nasty stuff out there. It's cold, wet, and they've been out there for 12 hours and going to be out tonight 12 hours in colder weather. But we also want to thank our partners, LA County Fire, Los Angeles County Public Works, USGS, the Forest Service, that have been here by our side waiting to give us whatever we may need from that standpoint. So it's very appreciative. So with that.